Georgia, job done against Uruguay. Final score in that was 33 points to 7. Good bonus point win for Georgia, kind of just what the doctor ordered after their opening defeat to Wales. They kind of went by the stereotype and dominated in the areas they were expected to dominate. But Uruguay on the short turnaround definitely didn't disgrace themselves in this game. They kept fighting to the end. They still managed to get on the scoreboard. They did get a red card towards the end. But yeah, they can definitely hold their heads high despite the loss. I actually wrote a note about this one. Good anthems. Both these teams really sung their anthems with some vigor. I don't know that I saw anybody not singing. So that's, some guys kind of play it cool and they don't sing. These guys all seem to be singing pretty heartily, which was, I don't know, like strangely enjoyable to watch these guys, of which I have no connection to either country, but seeing them kind of go at it with their anthems was a good feeling, and the crowd were getting into it as well. Good vibe in the stadium. It looked bloody hot. Milton Haig, the coach of Georgia, the Kiwi, was in a shirt and he was just absolutely drenched in sweat. So it was obviously a very hot day. Not ideal to be playing a second game of rugby in such short time for the Uruguayans, but hey, the ref's jersey was a similar colour to the Uruguayan, so that was also an interesting choice. But anyway, to the rugby, Georgia knocked it into touch early, and the ref asked Uruguay, do you want a scrum or a line out? And I was like, don't be silly. Don't even ask them the question. Just give them the line out. And Uruguay opted for the scrum. And it was under some pressure early, although it held okay and they got the ball out. But I thought that was an interesting choice. And then within 5 minutes, the Georgians had an attack. They won a penalty. Did they go for 3 points? No. They went for a scrum. So it was kind of like, surprise, surprise. The Georgians want to scrum the ball. Sure enough, that scrum won a penalty. They opted for a scrum. They won a penalty. They opted for a scrum. And then from advantage, they got a try. It was through Todua, the left winger. He went out wide. And they missed the conversion. It was close. 5-0 early to Georgia. Uruguayan defense on 15 minutes was holding after Georgia went like 8+ phases. And they did manage to hold out pretty well under a lot of pressure. So I was kind of thinking, good credit to Uruguay at that point. They had a water break on 20 minutes because it was that hot. They needed the break. You could see some of the guys lying down, covering themselves in water, just taking on liquids because, tough conditions for the players. It was a bit scrappy from then. I was still kind of on the edge of my seat for some strange reason, but it was enthralling despite the fact that it was a bit messy. 28 minutes though, Georgia, they attack through the scrum again. At that point, the ref warns Uruguay, look, you're giving away too many penalties at scrum time. And they were. Whenever the Georgians fed the ball in, it was pretty much guaranteed a penalty to Georgia. So they got a warning. He said, you can go forwards, you can go backwards, but you can't go down. And then from the resulting scrum there, Georgians just kind of powered the scrum forward. And Gio Gadza, the number 8, picked up the ball from the back. He did well to pick it up and then just dotted it down over the line. Got low. And, they kicked the conversion 12-0. 32 minutes. Uruguay actually got on the board. It was a nice little line-out move, in and out. And Vilaseca, he got the ball and, went straight through the gap in for the try. So good work from Uruguay. Nice for them to get on the board. 34 minutes, Freitas hit Todua into touch. I made a note of that because it was under a high ball. Todua, the Georgian winger, he took it and he was immediately smashed into touch. And this is not long after the Uruguayan try, and I was thinking maybe momentum is shifting towards Uruguay at this point. 35 minutes, there were some handbags. The game was pretty tense. I guess Georgia at that point maybe not happy with how their performance levels were going, or at least the scoreboard was reflected. And 37 minutes, Uruguay missed a penalty. That's how the first half ends, so relatively tight. Run meters were 185 to 105 in Georgia's favour, 54% possession, 65% territory for Georgia. So on paper, they were bossing the game. Georgia were tackling at 93%, but Uruguay was still a very respectable 83%, and penalties conceded was 5-7. So Georgia gave away a few silly penalties in that first half. Uruguay mostly at set piece time. Second half begins. Uruguay have a kick that goes through. The guy has to take it back over the line, which is unfortunate because he's tackled in the in goal. That gives Georgia a 5-meter scrum. What happens from there? The next Georgian try happens to Chila Chava, the prop. It's basically from the scrum. They go a couple of phases, and then they get the try. He burrowed over basically. Was it a try, or scrum, or was it a maul? Either way, it was set piece play, and very Georgian. He just burrowed over, and the sideline conversion was fantastic. 19 points to 7. Bregvadze got his try from a line-out maul. That's the bonus point. 26 points to 7. And then 57 minutes, 58. Kevez El Adza. He got a try. He's one of the midfielders. It was an interesting one because Jaba Bregvadze, the hooker for Georgia, he chipped it over, which seems like he should be banned from playing for Georgia ever again, because that's not the stereotypical Georgian thing to do, but amazing little bit of skill. The chip was okay, but the Uruguayan guy gathered it pretty easily. But Yaba, he chased the guy down and managed to catch him like a meter from his own line. So he turned a pretty average kick into a good play, and then one of his own players just came, and then the ball was just sitting there after the tackle, just grabbed it and dotted over the line. So nice little bit of work from the Georgians. But then that was it. That's the last of the scoring. So it's like a flurry of play early in the second half. And that's the end of the scoring for the entire game. I mean, Georgia did go close at one point with a nice little cross kick, but there was a little knock on as he tried to force it. There was one point where the Georgian 9 tried to get into a fight with one of the Uruguayan locks, which was just interesting seeing Wayne Barnes lecture them both. Hey, you, watch it. Hey, you, watch it. Just comical kind of, but yep. And 77 minutes, the last kind of play. That was of any note because it just the game just kind of flowed on from there with Uruguay holding off. Uruguay did get a red card. Kind of tough, I guess, but it was a shoulder to the head. The Georgian runner was going down a little bit, but not enough to be a mitigating factor, and red card for him. So, yeah, Uruguay fought to the end, though. They had the ball, like when the hooter went, they kept attacking, they couldn't get it done, but yeah, credit to them for still fighting in those conditions. Final stats, run meters 432 to 162. Possession was 59-41 to Georgia. Territory 69-31 to Georgia, so really dominant. Tackling Georgia 88%. Top level stuff. They'll need to be that way for the rest of the tournament. Uruguay still, again, respectable 79%. No disgrace. Good effort from those guys. Penalties conceded was the killer. Remember, it was 5-7 at halftime. It finished 6-15. So the penalty count really just blew out in that second half for Uruguay. But yeah, notes I made. Georgian set piece too good. Scrum and maul. A couple of their lineouts went astray, but again, still overall pretty good. They had a few adventurous moments. Did Georgia kind of a varying success. Uruguay, again, the turnaround was going to be tough. The set piece was tough, but they did defend pretty well, and it was a lot of tries scored through set piece that they couldn't stop, but the other ones they largely kept under control. So individuals, Giorgadze for Georgia, he got man of the match. He was the top run meter getter of the match, and he's a number 8. 81 run meters, 4 defenders beaten, so good effort from him. Villaseca, the try scorer for Uruguay, had 13 out of 14 tackles, so he was the top tackler of the match. Excellent effort from him. Bregvadze also had 9 from 9, so a good effort. And kind of a try assist for him as well. But yeah, pretty good game. Kind of went by the script on what we thought was going to happen. So Uruguay, unfortunately for them, not able to get another dream finish. But they've already done a very good job in this World Cup. Georgia, keep their hopes alive. I think their backs will probably have to start adding to the scoreboard a wee bit more if they are going to get anywhere. But we'll see how they go. Their forwards, in this game anyway, certainly looked top class. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on the game, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later. If you want to get 10% off one of these Georgian Rugby World Cup jerseys, head to the link in the description and use the code 2cents10 at the checkout for 10% off.